So today's video has been highly requested by quite a few of you fellow Chanel handbag lovers out there, so thank you for the idea, because today we're going to be covering basically a comparison between two of my most favourite handbags, not just from Chanel but in my whole handbag collection. And you can see these babies right behind me, and that is a comparison between my Chanel Coco handle and my Chanel Business Affinity. And both of these I believe are in the medium size. They have different names, small, mediums and stuff, but they're both in the intermediate sizing of each bag. And I thought I'd do a little bit of a chit-chatty kind of comparison today. It's not going to be a super in-depth review of each of the bags. I do have separate videos on those, so shameless self-promo, if you want to check those out, they are way more in-depth. This one is just purely going to be a comparison between the two, me talking about my experiences with them, and you know, if you're considering these two bags, then you know, maybe my recommendations for which ones you should get, especially given the fact that these two bags have become extremely popular in the past few years. I would even go as far as to say that they are the new classics in Chanel's bag lines. So I think this video could be very helpful to the rest of you guys out there who are considering bags that are different to the Chanel classic flap or boy bag, and these two are also very, I guess, accessible in comparison to those bags, and a little bit more affordable. I'm using my air quotes here because obviously we're talking Chanel, we're talking luxury. And so I kind of want to run down some of these factors with you guys here in today's video so that it will maybe help you in making that decision a little bit quicker. Let me get straight into the video by doing a little bit of an intro to each of the bags. I'll keep it short and sweet because, like I said, I do have separate videos on these bags, and you know, we'd be here forever. I can talk bags for days. So I just grabbed this Chanel Coco handle, which is, just in terms of fast facts, this is in obviously the beige colorway with the chevron design. Usually they do have the more traditional quilted design, but I really do like chevron. It's my first chevron bag actually in just my bag range in general. And we've got here silver hardware. It's almost got like a ruthenium tinge to it as well, which I quite like. Obviously we've got the caviar leather. They do make other different kinds of handles actually. This one's obviously just a normal caviar basic handle, but they did make snakeskin, though I do believe that Chanel's discontinued all of their exotic leathers. So, you know, that would be kind of like a limited edition bag to have nowadays if that was what you were after, but they also look very beautiful. And this is in, like I mentioned, I think earlier, the medium size, though I believe they call it small, which is a bit confusing because this is anything but small. But I basically, there's an even bigger one, which I personally think is large. And so that's why I'm calling this one medium, for the sake of the fact that this Business Affinity over here is an actual medium size, right? But you can tell the difference is quite staggering. And this, I would say, in comparison to the classic flap, is probably the size of a jumbo. I don't have classic flaps in my collection. I did make a separate video on that. I think this actually, given the fact that it doesn't have a double flap, it's a single flap inside. Let me just check. It's all nice and neat. You got it stuffed. It's not the bag that I'm using at the moment. I'm using the Business Affinity today. But yeah, it's got no double flap, so it's got loads and loads of room in there. So I do think in that respect, it is a jumbo flap comparison size. And just for a little bit of context, I believe the Coco handle was released before the Business Affinity. The Coco handle was released in 2015, whereas the Business Affinity was 2017. But I feel like, just as a general observation, I feel like you see less of the Coco handle in comparison to the Business Affinity. And I suspect one of the reasons that the Coco handle may not get as much attention as the Business Affinity is because the Business Affinity is quite distinctive in its look, and we'll get onto that in just a moment. But the Coco handle, obviously you've got very similar classic silhouettes already in Chanel's lines, like the trendy bag. But also, if you go further afield, if you look into, you know, brands like Hermes, it looks very similar to the Kelly. So I imagine people would gravitate to either of the other two bags that I just mentioned and not really look as much at the Coco handle, whereas the Business Affinity might be a little bit more distinctive. However, for me, that works great because the price point is pretty good for this size and type and style of bag. So I bought this bag off the top of my head for tax-free. Actually, both of these were bought tax-free, which is why it's great options for you guys considering a Chanel bag to collection. This bag I got tax-free for $2,750, but it was full price for about $3,150 at the time. And that was 2019 that I bought it, if I remember correctly. So I think nowadays these are going for retail 3,600 odd. But let me talk about the business affinity before I go into the comparisons of both of them together. So here we have my beautiful baby business affinity, and you can see I've got a little Dior twilly on her, little twilly scarf, and it's got M. I never take this twilly off. I think not only is it pretty and it goes really well with the dove grey colour, I also think it does do a great job of protecting the handle, and I probably should get one for my Coco handle now that I think about it, because you know, hand oils and things like that. And also it's just a nice little bit of decoration to make the bag truly my own. And again, just in terms of the fast facts about this particular bag, so I got my business affinity in the medium size. They have a small, medium and large, I believe, in their collections, but I did feel that the large was way too big. I do think the large is actually more comparable to this Coco handle behind me, but I felt that it was just going to be a bit too big for something that is really meant to be worn cross-body. So that, I think, is the main appeal of this particular bag. In fact, I didn't mention earlier, both of these can do crossbody, and you know, this one actually on the Coco handle is detachable, whereas this is not. And so for that reason, the business affinity is really appealing to a lot of people, because it is a very much on the go kind of bag, and a very practical bag at that. That looks super, super cute. I love its very distinctive curved flap at the top here. Mine is actually in the quilted caviar leather, whereas I think you can get them inverted, where it's basically flat and flush at the top, smooth grained leather, and then you've got the quilting underneath. But I really love the fact that mine is inverted, because I feel like it looks really nice and soft and squishy when it's plump with the quilting on the top. And then like I mentioned, I've got it in the kind of dove grey colour. It's beautiful. It's my first grey bag actually, and I love it a lot. And I got it in the champagne gold hardware that you can see. So that is just a quick little summary of the bag. In terms of organisation, like I mentioned, lots of information in my other videos on this, and this is filled to the brim, which is embarrassing. Maybe I'll do a real life, you know, what's in my bag for this particular one, because I am going out in a bit, so I'm just frantically trying to shove everything back in, and you know, got masks and everything, so you know, lots of compartmentalization in this one. In fact, both bags are really good in terms of organization, so you won't go wrong. And I do think the organisation in the business affinity is done really, really well, considering it's such a small bag in comparison to the Coco handle. Lots of pockets, zips, and you know, we've got a front pocket here, we've got a back pocket here. And also, as just a quick fast fact, so this one, like I mentioned, was released in 2017, so a bit newer in comparison to the Coco handle. Having said that, I do think it's gained a lot more traction over the last few years. So I believe this was also bought in 2019, in the same year, but 6 months earlier. Full disclosure, my mum got this for me very kindly for my birthday that year, and this was bought also at Heathrow for, I believe, £2,610. I'm not sure if I just made up the £10, but like I mentioned, I did put all of the details in the dedicated business affinity video that I've made, and this was, I think, retailing around 3,000, maybe just under 3,000 with the tax on it, so original pricing. So, you know, quite a hefty saving on both of these bags. This one costing slightly less than the Coco handle. So when you think of how much bag you get for your money, for just £100 more, you could get yourself this big baby over here. But that's just a little bit of context and background for you that you might find useful in terms of pricing. Nowadays though, I think the business affinity goes for about 3,400, something like that, so very neck and neck, to be honest. So now we've got an overview of both of the bags. Let me just do them side by side for now, so you get a feel of how they look. So you can see, obviously, Coco handle, despite the fact that both these are in the more medium size, Coco handle is massive in comparison. Let's turn them around. And there we have it, the side by side. Again, sizing is very, very obvious here. And I'll just turn them around, just in case you want to see the back as well. There we go. Okay. And then the final one here. I think now we can probably get into, you know, what types of occasions that I use these bags for, why I got them, and, you know, why I wanted one of each essentially, because I know some people like to buy two of a good thing, you know, but I like to have different bags in my collection and they do serve different purposes. Okay, so now I think we can do a little bit of chit chat and talk about maybe which bag is the best one for you if you're considering any of these. Now, obviously I'm talking about the medium sizes because I only have those for reference, and I'm a woman of practicality and function, like I've mentioned many times before, so I tend not to get micro bags. I tend to also just, I guess, pick these kind of sizes of bags because they're a lot more functional in terms of, you know, going crossbody, over the shoulder, being hands-free, lots of pockets. And so that's kind of the mindset that I'm approaching when I'm talking about these bags. But, you know, each to their own. If this is going to be different for you, then obviously take what I say with a pinch of salt. But I will tell you up front for both of them. So I'll talk about similarities and, you know, the stuff that I think they both do really, really well together. I think these are both amazing everyday casual bags, especially in the sizes that I've got them for. They fit a ton, both of them. The Business Affinity in particular, I feel like the size, oops, sorry, it's just rubbing against my keyboard keys, so sorry if that's loud. I feel like the Business Affinity is a very deceiving looking bag. It's so cute and small, but it fits so much stuff. It's really heavy at the moment, and I filled it with absolutely everything. And I feel like even if you fill it quite full, it looks really cute and it doesn't really bulge or anything like that. The leather is very soft and squidgy and yet also robust and scratch resistant. I've never had any issues with it, and I think it's just a perfect on-the-go little bag. And this particular one is great in particular for crossbody. That's where I think it shines the best, and being hands-free. And I find, you know, accessing my bag with one hand with this Business Affinity is so easy, and there's loads of compartments for all your things. And then if we go on to the Coco handle over here, I find this is the perfect ladylike kind of boss babe on the go bag. It has also got a lot of pockets and segmentation, not as much as the Business Affinity, but enough to make life so much easier when you're out and about. Like I mentioned, also fuss-free, hands-free bag. Got lots of pockets inside to organise your bits, and obviously this being a bigger sized medium bag, you will fit so much more as well. And I think it just looks really, really elegant and sleek. Both of them do. I think this one probably gives off more of a classic vibe than the Business Affinity, which I think is a lot more modern and fun and young. With the Coco handle, I think this particular chevron design makes it look a lot more modern and fresh, especially with the silver hardware as well. And then you've got the kind of ladylike detail to hold it handheld. And like I mentioned, both of these bags have the ability to go crossbody. This one can even detach if you want that really nice evening vibe kind of look. And this one I can just about make it work crossbody if I need to. But I find both of these are great options for, you know, casual, on the go, everyday types of bags. I find them to be quite scratch resistant. Both of these are made out of caviar leather, which is obviously known to be more hard wearing in Chanel's kind of leathers that they do for their bags. And then obviously depending on the size that you want, so maybe, you know, you're considering getting the smaller size, or if you want to go a little bit larger for more travel oriented, or, you know, carrying a lot more stuff for potentially work. I believe this one has a small size, and the Coco handle has what they call a mini size, but it's known interchangeably as small, which is kind of confusing. But I think those are really nice options for evening bags, and they make them also, I believe in the Coco handle, they make the smaller size, the mini size, iridescent sometimes as well, or metallic. Those look really great as evening bags, and those can fit your essentials just about in there. I think it can fit an iPhone Pro Max, which is good, but just about. And then the smaller size in the Business Affinity, I think is also a really nice, cute evening bag as well. I believe that one also can fit the bigger iPhones. So, you know, depending on what size you want to get, I guess your bag will change in terms of its versatility or how it transitions from day to night. But I actually find that for both of these, I have worn these from day events, you know, just out and about, to the evening, and I think both of these work really, really well. Now, where things differ slightly and where I use these two in different occasions, They're very kind of small details, but maybe this might be something that helps you in terms of your decision making. In terms of the point that I made earlier around transitioning your outfits from day to night, I think that the Business Affinity, because of the size of it, at least for the mediums that we're talking about here, I think this one looks a lot better in the evening than this particular Coco handle, just because of the size alone. What I would say though is if it's in the more formal realms of events, that the Business Affinity may look a little bit too casual because of basically how many pockets I feel that it has. I don't know, there's just something about it which, although it's very cute and it's very practical and it would look great for like an afternoon tea or something, or, you know, like an evening gathering, you potentially wear it to a wedding or something. I think that'd be quite nice. I think because of the fact it's crossbody, it can't detach. It's not like you can make it into a clutch or anything compared to potentially the mini Coco handle where you can detach it and it looks a little bit more put together in like an evening bag kind of vibe. The Business Affinity may be a little bit too casual. However, if you get it in the smaller size, potentially in a different colorway, potentially that could work for you, but that's just something to think about. Conversely then with the Coco handle, like I mentioned, obviously this is a great on the go everyday kind of bag. When it gets to the evening, I think in this particular size, it looks probably a little bit more formal than the Business Affinity here. And in that sense, it looks really, really nice and sweet when you pair it with a very, very classy outfit. And also because it's a really nice neutral color, it will go with a lot of things regardless of the season. Whereas I feel like with the gray Business Affinity, it's not really a bag that jumps out to me as like a spring summer bag. It's very autumn winter vibes, this particular color all year round, and also spring and summer. I think this is quite a nice option. If you've got a lot of stuff to bring to your evening events, then in this particular size, anyway, for the medium Coco handle, this could work for you. And I do think it looks really, really classy and elegant. Whenever I wear it, I always get a lot of compliments for the evening events that I wear it to. But it does mean you kind of want to stuff this bag with loads of stuff because of the size of it. You want to take as much advantage of the space that you have as possible. But then that kind of detracts from the look, right, that you're going for. So I can't imagine me bringing this out to a night out. It's just too big and clunky, and you know, it's not like you can really wear it crossbody that comfortably in comparison to the Business Affinity. Though to be honest, for both of these, I don't think I'd wear them to any swanky evening events. Like I mentioned, like a nice evening dinner I think could work quite well. But these, I feel, although they do have different sizes which could work for a more evening kind of vibe, the smaller sizes in particular that I'm talking about here, these are more everyday practical bags, so I'd probably reach for something else in my collection. But overall, I think in the medium size anyway, they are good for both day and night, though I would say daytime is where you're going to get the most value out of them. And probably if you're watching this, that's the purpose that you're having this bag, right? Because let's face it, we're in COVID times, so evening events are pretty much out of the question at the moment. But I think if you were to go into the medium sizes, that is where you have a lot more options open to you in terms of the bags that actually would work for those kind of events. But obviously you want to consider then, if that's going to be the main driving force, having it for swanky events in the evening, then you will have to compromise on space, etc. And you know, the price differentials between the small and the medium sizes for both of these are only, I think, a couple of hundred at that. So for me, I always value space and practicality, and I also have a lot of smaller crossbody bags in my collection that would fulfill that evening bag purpose. But I think both of these are great options for, you know, being out and about on the go, putting all your stuff in. And on that point, I know a lot of you guys have asked me either on my other YouTube videos or in my DMs on Instagram, if I had to choose between both of these, which one would I choose? And it's a really hard one for me. But if you have seen my Chanel bag ranking video where I go through the painstaking task of ranking my 5 Chanel handbags, you will know that in the end, because of the times that we are in, mind you, I picked the Chanel Coco handle. I know. A lot of you guys were a little bit shocked at that. Both of these were in the top though, obviously, but top two of 5, but you know, top in my actual handbag collection as well of all the bags that I have, regardless of brand. Though I would say at the moment I'm giving this particular bag, the Business Affinity, a lot more love because I think it's just so cute. And I just think the twinnie's really cute on top of it as well. Anyways, I think that is everything for this comparison video. I hope this was helpful for you guys out there who are considering getting either one of these bags or both of them. If you can get both of them, I would highly recommend it. They're both, like I mentioned, really great investments, great everyday on-the-go kinds of bags. If you have any questions or other comments that you'd like to add, or other bags from Chanel that you think would also be great investments, do leave them below. I'm sure a lot of people will find that very, very useful to chit chat about this. But anyways, I will leave it here and I will catch you in my next one.